Welcome back to the Hoof and Fang podcast. I'm Kirt Graves.
And I'm Maz Maddox.
How the hell are you?
I'm good.
Good.
It's been a stressful week.
Yeah. We're coming to you from a stressful week.
Yes. Yes. I think that is the theme for both of us.
Yes.
This week has been a little nuts.
Yes. Yeah. So, as of the time of this recording, opening night for my show is tomorrow.
Yes.
There's been a lot of work to do, and we've gotten it done. And I feel good about the final product and the work that everybody in my show is doing. But there has been a lot of last minute hustle to get them some things done.
Yeah.
So I've been a little stressed out. Still recording though.
Yeah. I can't believe that. Like
me
the amount, because
neither.
I know what you've been like, the crazy projects that you've had to do kind of like last minute as like, oh shit kind of thing. But you're still logging in hours in the booth and then just grabbing your keys and being like, hey, gotta go put out like 4 more fires.
Yep.
See you later.
See you later. Be back to record.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know how you're doing that.
It's a very different vibe than the last time I directed a show a couple years ago, where like I got so wrapped up in it that like there was like weeks that were lost to just working on that show.
Yeah.
This time I am very proud of the fact that I was able to separate my two worlds more.
Yeah.
And was able to get at least my recording done. I'm woefully behind on prep and emails and social media.
I don't know. We don't know her. Yeah, exactly.
But thankfully, I've been recording and I've been directing, and I've been able to do both.
Good.
And we're almost there.
Almost.
It's really my finish line is tonight, because after the last rehearsal, it's fully in their hands, the actors and the technicians who run the show, and I just sit back and watch.
Yeah.
So
good. Well, then, just a couple more hours and you're free.
It's so close. Well,
nice.
We are. I'm actually going to be on local radio tomorrow morning to promote the show.
Oh, cool.
So I guess that's my last.
Yeah, the last thing
my last job
you got to do.
is
Yeah,
to go promote it. And I suppose I should post about it on social media. Jesus.
You lied. You're not done.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I should probably tell people about the show so they can come see it. So, yeah.
Good plan.
Yeah. Are you able to talk about how stressful your life is?
I guess I can, without revealing too much, I am applying for a job that's pretty intense.
Yes.
It's a job that is both awesome and terrifying and stuff. And there's way more prep involved in applying for this one than anything I've ever applied to ever, including when I worked at 911. So like for that one, I had to go
prove you were human?
Yeah, prove I was a human, go take like a lie detector test and that kind of stuff.
Probably
and
a drug test.
Yeah, drug test, and that's fine. Like, but I've done that for other jobs. And I guess the lie detector test was pretty intense, because the guy was like, I guess I had a little blip. And so he started grilling me because he was like an ex-cop, and I was like, I don't know. And I folded immediately, but I still got the job, so it's fine. Right. But yeah, this one I have to like put together a whole presentation to make sure I know what I'm talking about and give them like ideas on what to do to improve their site and all this other crap. And it's been intense. And I actually just mailed the final product over to the recruiter that had tapped me for it. So automatically I'm like, imposter syndrome like oozing out of my eyeballs at this point. So yeah, I have my second round of interviews Monday. So I'm stressed. Like I haven't been sleeping. My stomach's ripped up. Like I've been going through it. Yeah. So it's been fun. So no creative shit's been happening. Like I haven't written anything since this started. Yeah. So yeah, it's like Maz world is kind of not on pause, because like Save the Vampire is still going through edits and like Baja and Jackson's story's ready to rock and roll. But any future projects I thought I was going to be working on right now, no, not at all. So
real life has to take priority sometimes. Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. Not to make this about me, but what you're describing, I've been talking to a narrator friend of mine who's going through the same thing.
Really?
Just because he submitted an audition. Oh. So it's like every time you get approached to do a book and you submit an audition, it's all those feelings.
Oh God, yeah, I can imagine.
It's like imposter syndrome, fear of rejection. If I don't get this, it's not good. So
and also fear of getting it. Like, because then if you get it, you're like, oh God, you know, like I've got to be great at this thing. So yeah.
It's it's a scary thing to do, to put yourself out there.
Yeah,
whether
it really
it's
is.
for a job, a gig, whatever.
Yeah. I saw a really great little motivational thing from this artist that I found. I don't know the name of the artist, but the company is Wizards of the Barge, I think. And they do like kind of cute D&D style, but like really silly art.
Oh, yeah.
But one of the ones that they have is this cool, like arched dungeon entrance with like a shadow of this like hero standing at the precipice of adventure. And it says, sometimes we keep ourselves small so we don't fail big. And I was like, ooh, I love that. Because that's really what I'm feeling right now. Is
Right.
I keep wanting to shrink back into the familiar instead of being like, let's just go for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You literally have nothing to lose.
Exactly. I have nothing to lose, but also
but something to gain.
Yeah. But also, you know, a lot of big changes if things do go that direction. So, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you're interested in more of this type of conversation, we are going to start doing something new next week.
Yeah.
For our Patreon subscribers at the $5 level or above, we will be releasing another weekly podcast that is basically this.
Yeah.
Except it's when we see each other after a weekend.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, we do like this is happening in person. We share an office.
Right.
But Maz usually is here like Monday to Wednesday. And then we don't see each other from like Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah.
Unless we're doing an interview or something.
Right.
And so we usually have like 4 days of catching up to do.
Yeah.
And that happens Monday mornings. Well, we're going to start recording that.
Yeah,
and
why
putting
not?
it out as a special feature for just our Patreon listeners. It's going to be more real.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about narration or author stuff. It's just
Yeah.
going to be real life, maybe the news, just things that are bugging us.
Yeah.
And go into more detail about our real lives. But we're putting it behind a paywall, mostly so our husbands can't hear it.
Yes. So it could be like this motherfucker. Yeah. No.
That's a joke.
Yeah.
John listens.
Yeah.
So
And
that's a joke.
Alex doesn't, so I don't have to worry about it. But
Oh, he won't even hear my joke.
yeah.
You should tell him I made a good joke.
Yeah, I will.
Good.
Because he's going to be like, you're going to see him pop up on Patreon. like, crap.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a new feature coming to our Patreon starting next week. Usually coming out on Mondays, but if for some reason we don't see each other on a Monday, maybe a Tuesday,
Yeah,
it'll just be the
when we
first
can
time
do
we
it.
see each other, a coffee
Yeah.
catch up.
Perfect.
So now I'm thinking of ketchup in coffee.
That's bad.
Not good.
That's not
Not
good.
good.
Ugh.
So, and other things happening in the Patreon, as always, is we will have a new episode of Animorphs coming out next week.
Yes.
If all goes to plan, knock on wood, crossing fingers, we should have the first episode of Far From Neverland coming
Yes.
out next Tuesday. And then we have work in progress chapters coming out every Friday.
Yep.
So many cool things coming.
Yes.
September 20th,
Yeah, so
today, the
today.
day the episode comes out, we have a new Relic short story.
Yep. Yeah. Shorelines and Surprises. It's Baha Jackson.
So yeah, if you're listening to this episode right now and you haven't read the short story, you can go do that.
Yeah.
If you're a member of our Patreon.
Exactly.
And if you're not, you should.
Yeah.
Because you can read the short story
It's so fun.
and then hear us talk more.
Yeah.
More talking.
More talking. It's things everyone loves.
Yes. But in lieu of talking actually more this episode,
Yes.
because it is such a busy week and because I have so much going on at the theater, what we're going to do now is actually cut to an episode that we recorded a while ago. It's another in our series where we are recapping the Animorphs, one of our favorite episodes from that series.
Yeah.
It is the first Chronicles. So those who aren't familiar with the Animorphs, there's 54 regular novels, and then there are a few side novels
Yeah.
called the Chronicles, and this is the first of those that are like, they're canon, they're
Yeah.
in world, but they follow different people.
Yeah. Different people. They're usually chunkier books too. So they're like these bigger novels with like all this, like kind of expanding on the world and the lore and
Yes.
like characters that have made mysterious appearances or who have died. And like, it's really cool. Like you get so much more about the story.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and this one in particular is fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're going to be cutting to that after this conversation is done. You'll be listening to part 1. The Andalite Chronicles was the first book and it was chonky. So we split it up into 3 parts. So that is what you will have the pleasure of listening to today if you have never been a Patreon subscriber and have not had access to those episodes. It's new to you. And if you have, well then, feel free to skip to the end.
Yeah, there you go. Why not?
That's all we got. All right, so we will be back next week. And everybody just cross your fingers and pray for us that we make it to next week.
Exactly. Hopefully by the time we record next week, we're like, man, that last week sucked, but this week, great.
Yeah.
Everything's slowed down. We're not tearing our hair out. Everything's wonderful.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. Fingers crossed. All right. So that's it for us this week. And enjoy the first part of the Andalite Chronicles recap from your friends at Hoof and Fang. My name is Elfangor. I am an Andalite prince, and I am about to die. This is my Hirak Delist, my final statement. I am called a great warrior, a hero, but there is a great deal that no Andalite knows about me. I have not lied, but I have kept the truth a secret. Welcome back to the Hoof and Fang podcast. This is our Patreon exclusive recap of the Animorph series. Except today we're taking a break from the primary Animorph series, and we are talking about one of the offshoot series spin-offs, the Andalite Chronicles. So this is a standalone story.
Right.
Published in November of 1997, although it was originally published as 3 separate books.
Oh, cool. Okay.
It is now 1 volume.
Nice.
The Andalite Chronicles with 3 parts.
Yeah.
So if you were here to see the book, you would see it is much bigger than a standard Animorphs book, which is why we have broken it into 3 parts for our recap as well.
Yeah.
So today we are talking about part 1. So before we get into the details, general impressions.
So I love that it's from the point of view of Elfangor, because he's just an interesting character anyway. So being able to learn more about him and his perspectives, and it being like an origin story for him, has been really, really fun and interesting. And of course, just like with all the other books, there's a bunch of stuff I just didn't see coming. So, and we'll talk about that too. So like as stuff's happening, I'm like, are you fucking kidding? Like just like what? So yeah, it's been fun. And I've only read the first part because I was worried. You
truly are.
Yes, just the first part, because I was worried because it bleeds into itself very seamlessly. So it's like right when all this stuff is happening, part 2 picks up right when all that stuff is happening. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make myself stop. Otherwise, I think I'm going to get confused.
Sure.
So yeah, it's
so you
just
truly are stopped at the end of part 1. Don't know what happens in part 2.
Yes, correct.
Great. Well, so in the Andalite Chronicles, we actually start at the beginning of the whole series. Elfangor has crash landed on Earth, and he knows he's going to die, basically. And so Andalites do this thing where they can transfer like their consciousness, their life story, their memories to their ship's computer.
Yeah.
And then it saves it for it. Saves the memories for them, and then it can be delivered to family or their archives or whatever they do with it.
Right.
But that's the conceit of this story. He is dying on Earth, and he starts this process of telling his story to the computer telepathically, and then we bounce back in time to start the actual story of the Chronicles.
Yes.
Before we do that, though, now that we're 12, 13 books in, I am curious if Elfangor was physically injured, but clearly mentally with it enough to do this whole process.
Yeah.
Why didn't he just morph to heal himself?
I don't know. I was about to say I know exactly where you're going, and I do not have a good answer for that. Maybe he didn't. Oh, nope, that doesn't make sense. Nope, I don't know. I was going to say he didn't have enough time, but yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did. Because he had time to not only pass along the gift, but explain it to a bunch of kids before he was dying, but he still had to be taken out. Like he had to be killed. So. And
have we had an instance in the book so far? Because they've gotten hurt in their morphs and then morphed back to human.
Yeah.
And then they're fine.
Oh, maybe it doesn't work the other way.
Does it not work the other way?
Maybe not. That's a good question.
That maybe if you're in your original form, whatever happens to you
Yeah.
But that doesn't make any sense, you know?
Like that's us trying to
I'm trying
make
to
sense
find
of
a
it.
reason why if he was just hurt,
Yeah.
why didn't he just morph and then he'd be fine?
I don't know.
So
I don't know. Maybe he was really messed up. Maybe it just was downplayed. Like maybe he was mangled and maybe he was in so much pain he didn't have the concentration to be able to morph. You know what I mean?
let's revisit that later in the story.
Damn it. Damn it. Okay.
I think we can debunk that right away. But,
okay.
But let's get into it. I have that question. I had that question when we started the series, but I was like, oh, we're not far enough into it yet for you to have feelings about that yet.
Right.
But I was like, now
For
certainly
sure.
I'm not the only one thinking this.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah. So we flash back to 21 years earlier when Elfangor is a young warrior. He's a trainee.
Yeah.
They're called an
cadet.
heiress.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Yeerks are what they are. They are the disease of the galaxy. That has already happened.
Right.
And he is aboard a dome ship called Star Sword.
Dope
Hot.
name.
Nice.
Love it.
Love it. And he's learning to fight with his tail blade from an older warrior named Sofor. So it's a really interesting scene to start with because he's basically like in basic training.
Yeah.
And he's very young. He is sort of where Axe is now. This is where we start with Elfangor.
Yeah.
Which I think is really fun and cool.
Yeah, it is very cool.
Yeah. We meet Arbron, who is another Arist, another Andalite, another cadet. He's kind of a dick.
Yeah, I like their back and forth though. Like I like the dynamic of one like serious character. He's like, no, we got to take things seriously, and then the jackass who's like, oh, you suck anyway. Hoo hoo. Like it's good. And like they tend to like bond pretty quickly though. I think because at first they're kind of at odds, but as the story progresses, at the end of the first part, I feel like they're basically friends at this point.
I mean, they're frenemies.
Yeah,
right?
frenemies.
They're rivals.
Solid. Yeah.
So like, I don't think there's any real animosity, but like, yeah, Arbron's kind of a dick.
Yeah, he's kind of a dick. That's right.
Yeah. So they're both, as they're arguing, called to the battle bridge. And they're both like,
That's what.
why?
Yeah.
Like,
what did we do? They thought they were in trouble, which was
because for what other reason would they call like
two newbies
to the battle bridge? Like that's where the captain of the ship is and all the princes.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if we knew this before, but we certainly know now that like prince is more of a title that you earn rather than like an inherited title.
Yeah.
Which is how we think of it. And so, they're like, what the hell? And we get a little aside as they're making their way to the battle bridge where we find out sort of like how the ship is organized. Because there's like the huge dome and then there's like a long corridor and that's where all the personal quarters are.
Yeah.
And we find out, first of all, how small the personal quarters are for the heiress.
Yes,
like
very tiny.
Elfangor talks about like not even being able to turn around in his. He has to like back out into the hallway if he wants to turn around.
Yeah, it's like a tiny horse closet.
Yes, exactly. And we learn that in his quarters, he does this ceremony with something called a wish flower.
Yeah.
Because it is praying for good things for his not yet born brother.
Which I thought was sweet.
Which is Axe.
Yeah.
You know? And what's interesting, they mention in the book that the Andalites have recently allowed you to have more children.
Yeah, that wasn't a thing because like the war was getting so bad and their numbers are dwindling. So they're like,
oh, we need human bodies or we need Andalite bodies to fight this war.
Right.
Otherwise, apparently we had like a one child policy.
Yeah. So that's,
okay. So we're getting a peek into the Andalite
very
minds.
Strict. Yeah.
Very strict. But yeah, so they've lifted that. So now Elfangor is going to have I forget if they say little brother. I think he knew it was a brother already.
Maybe. I can't remember now. Sibling.
Yeah. Right. Do you think they're born with the blade? Do you think that's how they're born?
God, I hope not.
They just slice out of mom.
Yeah. She's like, I'm fine. I'll just morph back because I can do that.
Right. Ooh.
Well, I mean, I think animals with, not animals with horns, but animals with claws and stuff are born, but they're kind of like squishy.
Yeah.
So maybe the blade's like that. Maybe it's kind of
squishy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, interesting. Again, if you have an answer to that, let us know. Unless it's a spoiler for a future book.
Yeah, then please don't, because I'll be sad.
Yeah. But they're also clearly like what we would call like a religious people. Like they're spiritual. They have these ceremonies. You know, in Axe's book, we saw him going to the river and doing like his morning routine, morning ceremony, morning prayer.
Yeah.
And now we have examples of another one where he is taking time to pray to this wish flower. So they're a spiritual people.
Yep.
So they are going to the battle bridge where they see out the window something
the
or on
main
like
screen.
the display screens or something. They see a solar system with a big yellow star and 9 planets, the 6th of which has these cool rings around it.
Pretty neat.
Sounds
Where
made
could
up. They be?
Yeah.
And in this strange solar system, they have detected a Skrit-Na raider ship leaving the 3rd planet in that solar system. And Elfangor and Arbron are being conscripted to go get them.
Yeah.
Not because they're the most qualified, but because the Skrit-Na are short and they need small Andalites to get in the ship.
You are the most qualified because you are this tall.
Yep.
Yep.
So they have to go detain this Skrit-Na ship, and they get to go simply because of their size.
Yes.
So they are doing a little bit of a space battle. They're each getting to kind of show their skills. Elfangor is kind of a good pilot. Arbron's kind of a good shooter.
Yeah.
And they do manage to kill the engines and detain one of the Skrit-Na ships.
Yes.
And they are about to board the Skrit-Na ship. And that's when we learn a little bit more about the Skrit-Na. They are, in fact, 2 species, sort of.
Yeah. Very
in a way
strange.
that like a caterpillar and a butterfly are 2 species. Because when they are the Skrit, they are these like giant bug-like creatures.
Yeah.
But then they form a cocoon. And when they come out, they look like what we think aliens look like.
Yeah. Like just wild.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting.
Which I thought was such a cool conceit. To be like, oh, that idea we have of like little gray men.
Yeah.
Like
they exist.
Thin limbs, big head, big eyes. Like it's the Na.
Yeah. And clearly they hang out around Earth. So makes sense.
Right. Because they're like scavengers. They go to other planets. They steal things. They kidnap people.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So yes. Oh, all those things that we thought we saw. Turns out, it's the Na.
Yeah, they're kidnapping people.
And what does their ship look like? A flying saucer.
Yep.
It's circular with like some lights around the end. And Elfangor is like, I don't know why those are there. They must just like them.
Yeah, exactly. You know? I love the shade he throws on there. He's like, it just seems kind of useless, but you know, whatever. Teach their own.
So when they board the ship, they see that this particular group of Skrit-Na have in fact kidnapped some humans.
Yeah.
And they have taken advantage of the situation and grabbed a Dracon beam and are like holding up the Na captain.
Yeah. How cool is that? I was not expecting these like humans to be this scrappy. So they show up and this chick is holding these aliens at gunpoint being like, I'm tired of your bullshit. And I was like, I love her immediately.
Yes.
Just very cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we also like, we kind of see through Elfangor's eyes, like how little, or he knows nothing about the human race.
Yeah. That's the first time I think he's ever seen them.
Right. So he just keeps referring to the human as it until the Na finally says it's a female. And he's like, okay, so it's a girl.
Yeah.
And it is this person named Lauren. Who is one of the 2 humans who is kidnapped aboard this ship with the Skrit-Na, along with another person named Hedrick.
Yep.
But Hedrick doesn't go by his first name.
He sure does
because
not.
Hedrick is a ridiculous first name. What the fuck is that about? Hedrick.
I
wonder if K.A. Applegate knew a Hedrick. Like,
I don't know.
I've never heard that name before.
Nope, that's the first time.
But Hedrick goes by his last name, Chapman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I was like, are you serious? You bastard.
Yeah.
Well, and at first too, I was like, oh, they indoctrinated him really early and stuff. So that's where my brain was right now. I was like, oh crap, like he's been in this for a long time. That's interesting.
Yeah. what I find interesting is that like Elfangor and Lauren almost immediately start flirting.
Oh my God, I was going to ask you. I was like,
immediately start flirting.
I was like, he's into this little human chick, like this strange two-legged creature who he can't figure out how she hasn't fallen down countless times,
right?
And is countlessly impressed that she can squat down. He's like,
oh yeah, that was really
that is epic. And I'm like, she's going to do a
Him
cartwheel.
And Arbron are just like, what? How is she doing that? She must have such a strong upper body. It's like,
cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, he was like,
it's balance. It's called balance.
Exactly. I was like,
we have it.
You have to know what that is. Right. Come on, y'all. But yeah, he starts talking about like her hair and stuff. And I was like, all right, I see you.
Well, and also the fact that they both dream. I was like, oh, brother.
Yeah.
Like,
you dream every night. I was like,
dream.
Just get married already.
Yeah, right. All right. So Lauren and Chapman, they're taken off of the Skritna ship and they're taken to the Dome ship where they're getting a tour. Weird flora and all, because they're getting to see in the part of the dome where the Andalite homeworld is like recreated so they can eat. Yeah. They talk about eating.
And how weird mouths
and
are.
How weird it is. Yeah. I even wrote this down because I thought it was really funny. So this is Elfangor talking about how humans eat. Chapman started to explain how humans ate, but it was hard to picture, really. It involved spearing chunks of hot, dead animals and stuffing them in the mouth. But I refused to believe that was how they really ate. I mean, like, this Chapman guy's an ass. He's just making shit up.
Yeah, well, and at that point, Chapman had been kind of an ass because he starts being an asshole like immediately. So yeah, when he was like, yeah, this is what we do, he's like, I don't believe you. You're a jerk.
Right.
I was like, I mean,
yeah,
it's
totally
fair. That's fair.
Now he comes to find out later that was
and he was like,
true.
It's true. And ooh,
yeah, gross. I hate the description of hot dead animals.
Yeah, right.
I really don't like that.
Yeah, that's I'm gonna eat tofu this week. I don't
like the way that one rolls off the tongue. It's not wrong.
Nope. It is 100% accurate, and I think that's why it's upsetting.
That's why it's upsetting. It's hot dead animals. Sometimes they're cold.
Hey, sometimes they're cold.
Sometimes the ones we get from the ocean, sometimes we eat those raw. Just saying. Another thing that happens while they are in this grassy field is Lauren takes her shoes off.
Oh my God, that freaks them out so bad.
Freaks them the fuck out because they think she's just ripping off her hooves.
Yeah. They're like, you're ripping off your hooves. What are you doing? And then, of course, them describing what a foot looks like. They're even more just like, what is happening?
What is happening?
I don't understand.
These poor humans and their soft feet wandering around Earth.
Yeah. Like, what? Why did evolution take such a wrong turn with you guys?
He literally says, what had gone wrong in the evolution of this species?
It's like, I mean,
so much, dude.
Yeah.
So much.
There's so many goofy things about our body.
This is what happens when a species evolves with their brain instead of their soft, squishy bodies.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't have to do anything about our weird feet because we wrapped them in things. So the body was like,
weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
and that's how we got to the top of the food chain. Yeah. So after this little jaunt through the dome ship, Elfangor and Arbron are assigned to return the humans to Earth, and they are going to have to wipe their memories.
Yes.
And going along with them on this mission is a war prince named Alaran Semitur Karas.
That dude is, I don't know how I feel about this guy yet. He's very interesting because he's kind of a badass, but a little unhinged.
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't know. And I also know from past books of like Visser 3 stuff. So I'm trying to remember the names of people involved in that. And I can't remember. And I'm trying to like not skip too far ahead. So we'll have to back up. But like this.
I will say, we have heard this name before.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And they also say right off the bat that he's like a disgraced war
prince, they do. They say he's disgraced.
But they don't know why. They just know that this guy was like demoted. People don't like him.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's being sent on a mission with 2 Arists and the humans to just send them back to Earth and wipe their memories, and then they're going to have to catch up with the dome ship eventually.
Yeah.
Like, they know this guy is like
he's been benched, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but it makes sense because he's just, while I think he definitely knows his stuff, his attitude towards stuff, I'm like, maybe that's why they don't like him. Like, he's real quick to be like, just kill everything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm like, well, that doesn't seem like a super Andalite policy, but I don't know. Like, this is kind of the first time you get to see the Andalite society, so I don't know if like that would be a bridge too far for them or not. So I don't know.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
The one good thing about Alaran, though, is he has a kick-ass battleship.
Yes, he
called
does.
the Jahar. We love this thing. It's like 3 times bigger than a standard battleship, so they can stand up and move around in it.
Yeah.
And it looks really pretty and awesome, and it has 3 engines instead of 2, and it's just like the best.
Yeah.
And so they are excited about the ship. So, one of the things we learn as they are making their way back to Earth is that Arbron is sort of an expert with computers, which he's not proud of, because that's not like a warrior thing to be, like the smart guy. So they're basically calling him like a nerd.
Yeah, exactly.
And Alaran kind of makes fun of him for a little bit too. He's like, oh, I guess this is what they're teaching you now, instead of like how to actually fight in a battle. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But he saw something when he was going through like the mainframe of the Skritna computer that he was like drawn to. So he's like, hey, can I have some more time on the computer while we're just flying to Earth?
Right.
And so he's off doing that. Elfangor and Lauren continue to flirt.
Yes.
And learn about each other and share things about their worlds and how humans are. And all of a sudden, Arbron is like, guys. Elfangor, come here. And Elfangor goes over to the screen, looks at some weird readings. He's like, that can't be. Whatever this is, that's impossible. And Arbron is like, no, actually, I think I know what this impossible thing is. It's the time matrix.
Yeah. Crazy.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
And Elfangor is like, holy shit, you're right. Alaran comes over and is like, holy shit, you're right.
Yeah.
They kind of cross-reference it with some other things, and they see that like the Skritna took from Earth this perfectly spherical white orb that was buried under a pyramid for 50,000 years.
Yes. I was like, of course it's under the pyramids. Of course it is. The ancient aliens guys was right.
Exactly. Exactly. But that object was not on the Skritna ship that they stopped. It was on the other one that got away.
Yes, of course.
So now, and they're the only people who know about it. So sorry, humans.
Yeah.
You can't, we're actually not going to take you home. We got to do a quick detour on this super dangerous mission that none of us might survive.
Yeah. And Lauren was thrilled by that.
Oh, yeah. She was real happy to be told that's what's happening, given no choice. Yeah. So they figure out that based on the trajectory of that ship and knowing kind of how the Skritna work, that they aren't enslaved by the Yeerks, but they work with the Yeerks. They'll like scavenge and like give them things, that they are probably headed towards the Taxon homeworld.
Yep.
Here we go.
Yeah.
You're going to the Taxon homeworld. How do you feel at this point, Maz?
Yeah. So they were like, we're going to the Taxon homeworld. And I was like, no. Yeah, just y'all, huh? Great. This is going to end great. Nothing bad could possibly happen.
Possibly go wrong
in an origin story about a dead Andalite.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, oh Jesus.
And while all of this is happening, we do learn a little bit more about Lauren's father, who I'm thinking this was the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Or maybe Korea, based on when this story takes place. But he went to the war, came back, was never really himself. Left again. Alaran has a really like relatable moment where he's like, he puts Chapman down because Chapman is trying to denigrate her dad for being like a wuss. And Alaran's like, hey, have you ever been to war? Then shut up. You don't know what it's like. Yeah. Some people don't come back from war even when they come back.
Right.
And it's like, ooh, Alaran.
Yeah. Love that, man.
He has been through some shit. He know like, he's a crotchety old bastard, but like.
Yeah, well, he's going to shut that down. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So once they, and it also, like Lauren doesn't get it right away. She's like, why is this time matrix so dangerous? Chapman gets it immediately.
Yep.
like, which just gives you such insight into who he is as a person. He's like, well, obviously I could just take it and go back in time and erase your parents from existence, and then you would never exist. I could go back to the beginning of the human race and wipe out the whole human race. Mm-hmm. And it's like, Elfangor clocks it right away. He's like, I don't like this human.
Yeah. I was like, why did your brain go that direction immediately? Right. And like, I would have been like, I can go back in time and see a dinosaur, not like I could erase humans. Yeah. Like, wow, you're evil, dude.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like the psychopath question.
Yep.
Like the test to see if you're a psychopath. It's like, this is another version of it. Like if you got a time machine, what would you do with it? Erase humanity? Okay. Well,
you're a jerk.
Yeah, you're a jerk. Yeah. They get to the Taxon, like the space around Taxon homeworld. And Alaran is like, okay, so here's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to go down to the surface, and we're going to have to acquire some taxons, and we're going to have to morph into taxons.
Of course.
And that immediately is like, ick.
Yeah, yeah. For those who maybe don't remember, they're giant bugs.
Yeah.
They're giant, nasty bugs. So they just got to go crawl around. And like the way that they described the world too was so nasty. It's basically a world of like cockroaches and or centipedes or something. Mm-hmm. Just like he talks about it just being gross and like he could smell it and stuff. Yeah. And I was just like, it's just so nasty.
Right. Yeah. Well, in any infrastructure that's there that we will encounter when we get there, I mean, that's all brought in by the Yeerks.
Yeah.
Like otherwise they would just basically be like bugs.
Yeah.
Living in their
bug world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they see that there's a Yeerk transport ship flying by, and they're like, great, we can disable that ship, board it, acquire the taxon, and we'll take this ship down to the surface. Mm-hmm. So that's the plan. Once they're on the ship, they fight the taxons, and then some Hork-Bajir come in.
Of course.
And this is where the lesson that Elfangor was being taught at the very beginning of the book, which was just to like stop thinking so much. Mm-hmm. When you're in a fight, just let your instincts take over. Yep. He does that.
Mm-hmm. And it goes he goes a little too hard.
He goes great. Like he just wipes out 3 of the 4 Hork-Bajir.
Yeah.
Like,
which is awesome.
It's
but
impressive.
At the same time, like it fucks him up.
Right.
Like
he is not proud of what he maimed and he killed.
Yeah.
And he is not proud of it.
Yeah.
So they understand that they can't bring the humans with them. So what are they going to do with the humans? Well, we'll tie up the jerk. We'll give Lauren a weapon just in case he gets free. Mm-hmm. You guys stay on this ship. And then we're going to get on the transport ship and we'll go down to the Earth. While they are about to acquire the taxon, they see in the cargo hold that there are these giant Yeerk pools with like tens of thousands of Yeerks.
Yep.
And this is where Alaran is like, oh, we'll just kill him. Mm-hmm. We'll just open up the cargo bay and let them fly out into the atmosphere. They'll burn up on contact.
Right.
Awesome blow to the Yeerk Empire. We've killed tens of thousands of them.
Yeah.
And that is where Elfangor, he has an issue. Yeah.
Yeah. And which I can see, but at the same time, knowing what I know now, I'm like, but drop them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I understand that they are more complicated beings and like they have like connections, like that one had a wife and stuff. So I'm like, I can get it. But at the same time, they are going to infest people. Like that is their whole deal. So while I love that Elfangor has that moment of like, they're innocent and like they're unarmed, they're defenseless. I mean, I'd probably push the button. You know what I mean? Like that's a whole bunch of humans that they could infect later, you know?
But to his point, they are prisoners at this point. Mm-hmm. Like they're defenseless. They have them.
Yeah.
They are inert. They are unable to harm people as long as they stay under control, under Andalite control.
Right.
The part I don't think he thinks about is the fact that like in 3 days, they're going to die anyways.
Oh yeah,
if they're taken out of like, are the Andalites going to build a Kandrona sun to keep prisoners alive? Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
So gruesome as it may be, like
it might be better than starving to death.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
there's not really good
decisions made in war. Who knows what we would be like in an actual war?
Right.
Arbron jumps in and he's like, "Hey, just a thought. If we dunk these guys out of the ship, somebody down there is probably going to notice.
Yeah, true.
So
good
maybe
call,
we
dude.
should save that for later.
Yes.
So we don't have to make a decision about the Yeerks quite yet because Alaran is like, okay, fair point. We don't want to be discovered. That would be unusual behavior.
Yes.
For a transport ship to just like kill a bunch of Yeerks.
Yeah, to open up and dump their cargo.
Oops. Oh, no.
Oh, Butterfingers.
Yeah.
New first day jitters.
Yeah, Butterfingers with the telepathic interface of the ship. We also learned that, like, turns out Andalites on the homeworld don't do a ton of morphing.
Yeah.
Like, they don't do it for fun.
Mm-hmm.
You are given the power, like, as a cadet, and then you do, like, one little, like, monkey/sloth thing, like, just to try it out. And then some people will also do, like, a bird. But, like, that's it. They're not going around acquiring all sorts of animals on the Andalite homeworld.
It seems like it's a lot more sacred, like which kind of fits, like it makes sense. So it's like this is like more of a means to an end and not like a bunch of human kids being like, I'm a bird, yay.
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
So
which I think, like, wouldn't you?
Oh, for sure.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's all I would be doing.
Immediately.
I'd come to the office as something different every day.
Right.
100%.
So yeah, they don't use it for fun. Which means the Taxon is only going to be the third morph that Elfangor ever does. And Alaran and Arbron aren't much more experienced. So Elfangor gets to morph first to just kind of tell them what the experience is like. This is something the Animorphs have learned to do too. Like watch somebody as they're doing it for the first time and make sure that they're not taken over by the animal brain.
Right.
And the only real thing that Elfangor feels when he turns into this Taxon, other than gross, disgusting, disgusted with himself, is just an overwhelming hunger. Like this feeling of like
you're starving.
Right.
Like
and he knows how Taxons are. Like they can't control themselves. Even Yeerks cannot control the Taxon brain if they're in a feeding frenzy. So like it is just this overwhelming hunger, to the point where he like wanted to eat Alaran and Arbron.
Yeah, he was like, ooh, 2 Andalites. They're delicious.
Right. And Elfangor is like, hey guys, just be careful about this hunger. It's no joke. And Arbron's like, what? You're going to eat me? And he's like, yes.
Yeah, that's why I'm giving you a heads up.
Yeah.
Pay attention, man.
Yeah. Like, that wasn't a joke.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we're not fucking around here. So they land, they get off the ship. And this is where like there are like some mag lift, like subway cars in the sky sort of things going by, or like platforms rushing by. Certainly this is part of the Yeerk infrastructure. They're mining something, or I don't know.
Sure.
But from one of these lifts falls a Taxon, hits the ground, goes splash, and all the Taxons in the area go to eat it because they're cannibalistic.
Oh yeah.
So, and this Taxon isn't even dead, but he's injured, and that's enough.
Yeah.
They smell the blood. They're going to eat. That overwhelming hunger, including Elfangor.
Yeah.
He cannot stop himself from going to eat this living creature.
Yeah. Oh, it's metal.
Oh.
That's crazy.
Oh. He loses track of Arbron and Alaran, who are also both Taxons and probably were also overcome by the hunger and went and did the disgusting deed. Eventually, Elfangor's will wins out and he is able to get away. He walks away from the feeding frenzy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if you are a Taxon who walks away from a feeding frenzy,
that also is unusual behavior.
You get some attention.
Yes.
Including from a pack of Hork Bajir who suddenly surround him while he's having like this existential freak out of like, oh my God, what did I just do?
Yeah.
I hate this body. I hate this whole thing. Like this sucks. I have no idea where my compatriots are. I'm all alone on a planet where all I want to do is eat other Taxons.
Yeah.
And it could be one of the people I know, you know?
Yeah.
And then some Hork Bajir come by and he's like, great.
My day's going great.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Having a
this
fun
is fantastic. And one of them talks to him and introduces himself as Sub-Visor 7, who's pretty high up in the hierarchy of the Yeerk world.
Yeah, he's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. And he's not stupid. Subvisor 7.
Nope.
He's like, hey.
That's weird. You're being weird.
Yeah, you're being weird.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to come with us. And he tells Elfangor that he thinks he is one of these rebel taxons who live in the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And this is news to Elfangor.
Yeah. It's like, okay.
Like, because the impression that Andalites have is that the taxons are willing participants in the Yeerk takeover, that they happily are their foot soldiers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now he's finding out that there's a faction of taxons who rebelled. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's new information.
Yeah.
And on this, he gets on a lift and they're going somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It is revealed that like Subvisor 7 is not stupid. He's like, no, I know you're an Andalite.
Yeah.
That's the only reason a taxon would walk away from a meal.
Mm-hmm.
You're an Andalite, but here's the deal. I will let you live if you let me infest you,
and
I can become the first Andalite controller.
Yep.
And Elfangor's like, no, thank you.
Yeah, no, pass.
No.
Just gonna pass.
Yeah. And he like actually talks to him. Like he gives himself away.
Yeah.
Because he uses thought speak and is like, no, fuck you. And Subvisor 7 is like, okay, well, throw him from the train.
Yeah.
And we saw how well that worked for the other guy.
Yeah, right.
And so Elfangor falls. He tries to demorph as quickly as possible, but he still hits the ground, splatters. It is described how his body bursts open, his insides come out. He is still alive.
Yep.
He gets to experience taxons eating him alive
Book is
while
insane.
he works hard to demorph.
Yeah.
So this is where I say, what amount of pain could he have been in when he crash landed on Earth that he couldn't morph?
Yeah.
If he can morph while being eaten alive.
That's true. Because his insides were not on the outside during that plane crash. He was messed up.
He was whole.
But he was not.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I have questions.
Yeah.
I have questions. But we're going to let that go.
Okay.
We're going to let that go. Because we have to come back to this story.
Yes.
He does eventually morph enough.
Yeah.
Gets his tail to morph first. So he can start fending off the taxons. As they back away, he can finish his transformation. He's fighting them off. Subvisor 7 sees him and is like,
yes,
get him.
Yep.
Get him or kill him.
Yep.
Something has to happen. Get him. And then Elfangor has to jump back into the throng of feeding taxons. And they're like ignoring him now because he's not fresh meat. And there are dead taxons that he sliced up with his blade.
Yeah, so now they're just nomming on those.
They're nomming on them.
Yeah.
And while he is inside this thrashing pile of giant bugs, he turns into the Kafit bird, which he had acquired when he was a cadet.
Yeah.
And flies out of there.
Yeah.
Barely makes it out alive. Still doesn't know where anybody is. And as he's flying back towards the landing port, where the Jahar is, or where the Skritna, God, there's so many ships.
Yeah. The Texan ship that they took.
The transport ship. And he's going back to the transport ship. At least we'll get back there. He sees the Jahar coming in for a landing. And he's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Why? How? There are only 2 humans on board. How did they even know how to land this thing? What's going on? Somebody must have taken it over. Nope. Because the end of this book is Chapman stepping out of the Jahar and being like, don't shoot. I have something to trade for my life.
Yeah.
And then he pulls Lauren out, who's like tied up, and is like, I have a whole planet of this. The end of the book is Chapman saying, I will offer you Earth in exchange for my life and power. Yeah.
So I went from being like, oh, poor Chapman, he was indoctrinated so early, or like they infested him so early, to being like, when do we get to kill this guy? You know what I mean? He handed Earth over. He talked to Visser 3 and is like, hey man, I got a whole, you like my body? There's a whole bunch. I'll show you the way.
Yeah.
What a dick.
Yeah.
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 Ultimate bad guy.
Right.
Hate this dude.
So here's what's interesting at this point.
Mm-hmm.
We know this guy is a Chapman. Do you think he's our Chapman?
Well, Lauren says that he's not much older than her, and she's like a young lady.
Right.
And it's 20 years. Well, shit, maybe he would be too old. Maybe it's his dad. Or like
or even like
something.
a brother or a cousin.
Yeah, maybe. Because, I don't think they ever talked about his first name in the other. Well, they wouldn't know his first name. Because he's the principal or whatever.
Right, assistant principal.
Yeah, so.
Did you know your assistant principal's first name?
I can't remember his last name now. Yeah, I don't remember any of
especially in middle school.
Yeah, God, I don't remember anybody's name. So yeah, good point. Because he would be kind of old, I think, at 22. Well, I don't know. He could be in his 40s or 50s and be an assistant principal.
Oh, sure.
Sure. So it could be him, but I don't know. In my brain it is, but that could be another twist.
Exactly. I think that's what she wants us to think.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, maybe it's not.
Could be. Could be. So where do you think the story goes from here?
I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, obviously Elfangor gets away because he's part of Axe's life and stuff, and it's 22 years ago. So he is going to make it out as like a seasoned warrior, and we at least know the fate of one of the Andalites because Visser 3 has an Andalite form.
Right.
So I have some hunches, but I don't know.
But only time will tell.
Yeah, and then their whole time matrix, what is that? So, well, we know what it is, but like that's the smoking gun, you know what I mean? So, oh man.
It's their MacGuffin of this book. Like it's the thing we have to track down and find and save. Exactly. Yeah. So that was Andalite Chronicles Part 1. A lot of crazy stuff going on.
Big time.
And it is so nice to kind of get some of Elfangor's backstory. It's really good to learn more about Andalite society.
Right.
It is really a well-developed world that K.A. Applegate has put together.
Yeah.
Especially considering like these were coming out in addition to like the regular books as they were like flying off the shelves. Like this lady really did not take a break.
She really didn't.
Yeah. Eventually there are ghostwriters, but like I think at this point in the series it's still her and Michael Grant doing all of this storytelling.
Yeah.
All of this backstory. I mean, I don't know any other series where they've done like entire spin-off worlds.
I'm sure
for
they
middle
exist.
schoolers.
Oh, not for middle schoolers. Yeah, this is like.
This is
so
like
good.
some George R.R. Martin shit.
Yeah, I was about to say. Like, I'm sure I know he's done it, but like not for middle school kids. Like, this has such good world building and deep lore. Like, I really hope there's books like this available now for kids. Like, is there another series that is this epic for this age group? I hope so.
Fortunately, this one still exists.
Yeah.
So they should go get that one. As should you, dear listener. I hope you're following along with us. Or if you're just enjoying the recaps, that's fine too.
Yeah, for sure.
We are having a blast doing this. And we'd love to hear your thoughts about what happened in Part 1, or if you have any predictions for what happens in Part 2.
Indeed.
And we will be back next week to tell you exactly what happens in Part 2.
Yes.
We'll see you then.
Yep.
Bye-bye.